Yes, it's just coming now. Beautiful. Watch the light. Watch the light. Watch the light coming out here. And try to get it to maximum zoom for you. And there you see the sun beating through the clouds, or gently opening its way. Good morning, Lila. Hello, California. Eileen and Linda. You know, Magdalene, the ladies are always in the front row. God bless you, Susanna. Always reposting those pictures. Hello there, Donna, Miriam, and Eliane, and Claudia. All ladies here, all women. And Eileen. You know Eileen's sister's name? Eileen. Oh, I forget. It's trying to be a joke, and it doesn't come to me. And Judy and Rose and Delphia. Wow. And there's a name there in Arabic that I can't call out. I'm sorry. And there we got Bradley. That's the guy who's coming in here from, I think he's out there in Nebraska or Idaho somewhere. And Judy and Debbie. So you're all here. It's wonderful. And there's the sun right for you here. Look at that. Oh, we just had a huge white crane fly out there. And look at these clouds up here, harbingers of rain, but it won't be much. And it won't be more than a sprinkle. It comes every New Year here. In the Jewish New Year, there's always a little rain in these festive days. Today we hit deep chords of our identity. Sometimes our identity escapes us, or we cipher it in things that really are not our identity. And then obviously that leads to tremendous schizophrenias and pressures, mental pressures and social pressures. If somebody comes into a bank and he plays the CEO and he's just a cashier or an accountant, or if the CEO comes in and he just plays cashier and he doesn't take on the responsibilities of the difficult moment of leadership. You know, our identity is very important. To know what our identity is and to get light on our identity. It can be very clouded. It can be a lot of bush in the way. We got to get a clear idea of our identity. And today we got lots of that coming. Amazing. Amazing, 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 amazing. It's a big revolution, actually. Big, big revolution. Not a revolution of the violence to the other type, to the other person, but an extraordinary radical take on ourselves. I'm impressed with all the cloud this morning. It was much darker there half an hour ago, 40 minutes ago. So here we are at the end of our walk already, with the beginning of our stroll and chat. How about that? You know, we made it to this point. Ahlan wa sahlan. Sorry, I still have to learn Arabic. Hopefully next year I will be a little bit more proficient with Arabic. Ahlan wa sahlan. And here we have Jim Beth. So a blessed Sunday morning to everybody. And let's go into this identity dimensions. See, we're very complex beings. A piece of wood is a piece of wood. It has also its very rich complexity. And a piece of rock is a piece of rock. But a human being we have our feet on the earth and our heart is in heaven. And our mind is all over the place. our heart could be all over the place as well. You remember we were up here 2 days ago at the rock face, or 3 days ago. Sometimes I lose track. So our identity. So there's a huge revolution happening. And let's start off with where we all find ourselves normally, every day, and where humanity has always found itself from the very beginning. Cain has to take out Abel. This caused immense suffering at the dawn of humanity. And there's envy, and there's pride, and there's arrogance, and there's violence. There's a strange chemistry happening in the heart and mind and soul already from the dawn of humanity. Something that alienates, that distorts, that actually, really disturbs the truth about humanity and opens up a very sad chapter that marks humanity for the rest of its history. And so we have 9/11 yesterday, marking humanity. An attack on one people, but people from 90-something countries died directly in the attack. It's amazing how we're all so deeply connected and how these things hurt so deeply, so profoundly. And so then we all get a little bit jittery and nervous, and we have to set up security barriers from the very first attack because my brother could be my enemy. And my brother can be, a real problem. So what are we going to do? And we become defensive, and we put up walls, and we develop weapons to defend ourselves. And we have all kinds of weapons. We have a long history of that, from stones, the first thing we grab at our hand. And then we make instruments. We call them arms because they extend our arms so that we have a longer reach. And we can throw them, javelins, and we can make swords. We can use metals, not just wood. And then we can develop explosives and gunpowder, and then we can develop rifles and machine guns and bombs, and we can go fly in the air and drop them. And we have all this ability, and it's not just, material bombs of explosives, of dynamite, but we actually can tap the very deepest core of nature and do nuclear bombs. And we've used them. And then we can use word bombs. We drop that one word that caused a huge explosion in the family, in the human family. Wonderful instrument is an airplane, and we can fly it into a building. And a wonderful instrument is a word, an extraordinary reality, and we can destroy with it. And sometimes we don't even need words. It's enough to look. It's enough to glance of the eyes, or it's enough to refuse a look, to refuse an encounter of the eyes. A moment of truth, a moment of clarification. Amazing reality of the human being. And so it's better to be on top of our enemies and not underneath them. And we look for power, we look for lobbying, we look for control. We control a space, we build a wall around it, it's ours. We are completely safely there, embedded in this control. And we're completely safe. We have a security, but it lasts for a year because a storm ruined the wall when a tidal wave came against it. And the tidal waves of politics, of revolutions, and our bastions fall. And our controlled space is no longer controlled, it's controlled by somebody else. And our property is lost, and all we worked for our whole life is flittered at the casino and all different places. And so we need some strong leader to come and help us, a Messiah who will come and free us, free our kingdom, build up our reality, impose our identity over others. And that's why Isaiah today is such a revolution, such a revolution. And he's talking about the suffering servant. The suffering servant who will be crushed. And there are 4 songs of the suffering servant. Extraordinary. And through his wounds we will be healed. Through his wounds we will be healed. And this, obviously, this message is first of all a message of actually conquering through the suffering servant, you know. God will stand by him and will lift up his people and they will prevail. And that's, I imagine, pretty understood to be, again, physically prevailing. But even for Isaiah's people, that happens only momentarily after the exile. And then again there's Greek suppression, then there's Roman suppression. And then we have the one who stoops to wash the feet. To the astonishment of those who expected that he would be the one to rule and to lead. And he said he has to go a path of suffering. And of course Isaiah text doesn't come to mind. They say, heaven forbid, no way! Get behind me, Satan. The way you are thinking is not divine thinking. Divine thinking. It is absolutely very corrupted human thinking. The way you think is not from on high. So we need to find a way to think from on high. And the way to think from on high is down on a knee, washing the feet, being a servant who still serves from the cross, from Calvary. Woman, behold your son. Son, behold your mother. Thinking of the others in the midst of agony. Like parents do, especially mothers. No matter what their suffering is, their child is first and foremost in their mind. And they're ready to make any sacrifice, suffering servant. And like a very loyal, strong business leader, he'll make many sacrifices to save the work, the opportunities for his employees. A suffering servant. And a great politician who will not yield in high principles to corruption, but will serve his people and will suffer because of this. He will speak truth and he will be nailed and eliminated, hanged, drawn and quartered. It used to be, but now it happens online. And that will to crush is in all of us, and every child has to be educated not to crush a sibling, not to crush a playmate, a classmate, a roommate at college, to learn to live and to build up the others. a servant who's able to suffer and serve. Isn't that our core identity? Who can escape from suffering and service? Escape from suffering, try if you will. So then the big issue isn't how we suffer, isn't if we suffer, but how we suffer. How we go through that narrow gateway and walk on water of suffering, trusting. Walk on water and not pay too much attention to the waves. Just keep walking in that suffering. Our truest identity is serving. You know, it's amazing, even the most powerful and arrogant people do turn a page and serve. They serve their little child, they clean the diapers, they do something for their beloved, even if they aren't married. So we all learn, sure, the greatest queens and kings served their children. They became a servant. And they had many at their beck and call. And who didn't suffer on this planet? Who didn't suffer? The richest, the most powerful, the most famous. Who hasn't suffered? Who hasn't suffered physically? And who hasn't suffered in relationships? Family relationships, neighborhood relationships. Suffering servant. So then the big question is really how we do it. How we live our suffering in a destructive way, in a healthy way, in a redemptive way, or in an egotistical way that actually causes more suffering. In an escape mode that doesn't face the reality. Way up there, that cow having a fun time grazing. A good time. What a mystery we human beings are. To embrace our reality with joy, with serenity, painfully many times, but that doesn't compromise the joy, the fulfillment, the nobility of the human person. It actually becomes a test and a proof. What greater proof of love is there than to suffer for somebody, to take on suffering for somebody, to sacrifice for somebody? It's really amazing truth about the human being. People, I think this is good for today. I wish you many, many blessings on this Sunday. Dive into the readings today. They are fantastic. Absolutely delightful. God bless you. We'll see you later, alligators. And enjoy this beautiful... Whoops! Sorry. What happened here? Oh boy. These things still happen to me occasionally. Forgive me. See you later, alligators.